The Detroit Pistons started a brand new starting lineup in their third preseason game against the OKC Thunder, and it looked good. We'll talk about what that starting lineup was. Isn't an actual option. We'll talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Koo Cahill. You can find me over on Twitter at Koo Cahill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. So, I want to let you guys know this right now. I am recording this. The Pistons game is still going on while I'm recording this. It's the fourth quarter, but all the Pistons two-way guys are in. Along with James Wiseman. I now see Buddy Boeheim getting up. So, yeah, this game is, it's an 8-point game. Pistons are up, but we saw the people we need to see, and I have work in the morning at 5. Gotta get out of there. So, and the things I want to talk about, I think we can, I don't need to see the final two-way guys play whatever. We don't need that for this. Pistons started a new starting lineup tonight. And when it was initially announced, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. It was Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, Ausar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren. I was terrified because that spacing in that lineup, not too great. And then also, I was terrified for my guy Killian. I thought he was getting set up to be destroyed by the fan base. The fan base was going to lose their mind that he was in the starting lineup and just go at him, attacking him for no reason. So I was worried about this starting lineup. But by far, this was probably the most functional lineup we've seen all preseason. By far. By far, their best lineup so far they've done in preseason. The defense with this lineup actually was really good. This is a lineup right here that if the Pistons are actually going into the, we want to be a defensive team. We're benching Jaden Ivey, bringing him off the bench because we want to go full on defense. We want to be a good defensive team this year. If Monty is serious about wanting to be a middle-of-the-pack defense, what I saw from this lineup in this game, this lineup right here is the only one that we've seen that I can even think of that actually gives you a chance at doing that. Now, the problem with that is that Bojan Bogdanovic is not in the starting lineup. And Bojan is almost 100% going to start. We'll talk about who he should probably start for when we come in a minute. But look, man, the starting lineup here, their defense was off the charts. The Pistons' defense the first few games of the preseason was absolutely horrific. We talked about it in the podcast. But in the first quarter of this game, when the starters played the majority of that first quarter, they only allowed 23 points against the Thunder. They outscored them by 4. They forced multiple turnovers. They scored multiple fast break buckets. And the open transition playmaking by Killian Hayes, Cade Cunningham, and Ausar Thompson was absolutely just a pure joy to watch in that first quarter. They were getting stops, they were getting steals, and they were getting out and running every chance they could get. And if you remember, throughout the offseason, we talked about if they wanted to go all defense and start Ausar Thompson, which it looks like 100% they are, you need to be running. You have to run because the half-court offense might get a little clunky. And that's what they did in this first quarter. When you get stops, you can run. And they ran every chance they could get, and they were generating open look after open look after open look after open look over and over and over again in that first quarter. Ausar Thompson played fantastic. He finished this game with 18 points, 5 of 8 from the floor, 2 of 3 from deep. If he's hitting threes, that lineup is going to soar. He had 3 assists and 2 steals with a block. Killian Hayes hit a 3. He played, I thought he only ended the game with 8 points, but he played absolutely fantastic in this game. Defensively, he brings something. Again, we've talked about it. And then offensively, the secondary playmaking that he brings, the transition playmaking that he brings, he's playing really good. He's playing really good. Cade ended this game with 14 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, 5 of 10 from the floor, 2 of 3 from deep. More outside shooting from him. Duren 11 and 7. Now we get to Stu. And this is the conversation we got to have. The starting lineup defensively, he's a big part of that. The starting lineup, this was the plus minuses of the starting lineup. Asar Thompson plus 12, Stu plus 12, Jalen Duren plus 10, Kate Cunningham plus 8, Killian Hayes plus 5. That starting lineup was outplaying OKC all game. They played extremely well together because of their defense. However, offensively in the half court, it was clunky at times, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that Stu was 0 of 7 from deep tonight. Now, in the first preseason game, he was 1 of 7. So now we have 2 games in the preseason where he's taken 7 threes and he's only made 1 of those. So he's 1 of 14 across those 2 games. This is the problem. The Pistons need to decide, is the defense of that lineup, do they think that's going to be sustainable in the transition scoring is going to be sustainable enough to survive shooting nights like that from Stu and the lack of versatility he brings offensively from Stu? If they think so, then they can try it out and they can see if the defense is overtakes it and kind of washes away some of those problems. If not, and while I do think this lineup actually could be good defensively, I don't know if just banking your entire offense in transition is sustainable. I'd love to, we can see it. I don't want to say for sure or for sure not, but I don't know if it is 100% just sustainable for real like that. You want to be able to score in the half court, and I think it's just going to be tough with Stu. And if Bojan is still on the team, I saw a few people talking about this, and I don't think I'm being biased by saying this, but if Bojan Bogdanovic is going to come back to the starting lineup, I don't think it's Killian Hayes that should go back to the bench. I think it's probably Isaiah Stewart. And in the third segment, we're going to talk about the backup 5 position for the Pistons. This will make even more sense in that segment. But with Bojan at the 4, the spacing looks a lot better. And then you keep the defense of Cade, Killian, and Asar, who will play better on ball and kind of make up for the perimeter defense and try to make it easier for Duren to protect the rim. Those 3 right there can hopefully make up for it. But I completely understand. I said it myself on Twitter during the game. The problem with this lineup is that Bojan's going to have to start, and that you're going to lose defense massively when he goes back into the starting lineup. So are you going to be as good defensively? No, you're not. The question then would be, is the defense we're losing, do we still maintain enough of that defense to get out and run while also adding some spacing? Again, that's something that we're going to have to see. I think if I had to answer that question, I'd say possibly, because of just how good of a shooter Bojan is, that his shooting with enough defense from Cade, Killian, and Asar and Duren may do enough to counter it. And along with the fact that, and this is something that one of the guys on Twitter, his name is Jam, he pointed this out, so I wanted to watch it this game, and he was 100% right. The way, this is not something that's going to pop on the box score, but Asar Thompson and Killian Hayes both do a fantastic job of boxing out guys that are bigger than them on the defensive end, and it makes up for the fact that they might be undersized with Bojan at the 4. In this game, the Pistons had 44 rebounds. The OKC Thunder had 42. Asar had 8 rebounds. Killian Hayes didn't have any rebounds, but he's boxing out, keeping other guys off the glass. That kind of stuff from those two, it just helps. It's not going to pop up in the box score, but it's a big thing. Small detail, but it's a big thing. So overall, I loved seeing this starting lineup. I'm not going to lie to you. I loved seeing the starting lineup. I was terrified about it before the game, but the defense, it actually was pretty good. I could see a future where this 5, with how they played tonight against OKC. Now, you need to see it happen to the regular season. Don't see why it wouldn't. It's not like some crazy. We're not saying that some dude shot 45% across preseason, some unattainable number. Like, there's no reason I can't see that defense translating to the regular season. But if they can do that in the regular season, I can see that starting lineup being a middle-of-the-pack defense. But I just never thought they would ever consider starting Killian Hayes, Asar Thompson, and Isaiah Stewart together. If they do, then fair enough. I think the middle-of-the-pack defensively maybe is possible. I loved it. I thought it played really well. I thought they got out in transition, ran a ton. It's just a question of, the question that needs to be asked is, are you giving Bojan Bogdanovic a starting spot back? And if you are giving his starting spot back, should it be Stu that goes to the bench? I think so. I think Asar Thompson should then, It should be Kate Cunningham, Killian Hayes, Asar Thompson, Bojan, and Duren. I think that would be the case. Now, if they want to bring Bojan off the bench, if they want to trade him, that's fine. And they want to run with those 5 to keep that defense, I'd be completely okay with it because of how good they looked defensively. It looked really good. But that's the question that needs to be answered now with this starting lineup. I'm really interested to see how Monty, if Bojan's on the team still, how Monty goes about it, and if Weaver sees this and now feels more, maybe not pressure, but a willingness to move on from Bojan now. I wonder if that's the case. I wonder if any of that happens, but I'm really interested to see it play out because of just how good this team looked defensively with those 5 out there. So let me know what you guys thought about that starting lineup tonight against the OKC Thunder. I know a lot of you guys may not have been able to watch the game because it wasn't streamed or not. It wasn't broadcasted. It was streamed. I found some streams to watch. So I watched the whole game. It looked like a lot of people were able to find one, but let me know if you were able to watch it. Let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel about this starting lineup. Do you guys like it? All that. Let me know in the comment section down below. But when we come back, I want to ask the question: should the Detroit Pistons make a trade? We kind of talked about it a little bit at the end here, but should they be making a trade? Should they be interested in doing so? We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I've got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. And the Pistons over-under at 28.5 with FanDuel. Do you think they can go over it? Do you think they'll be going under it? How confident do you feel about either option? I'm not going to lie to you. If they want to go full defense and they want to make a trade or two, I could see them going over that 28.5. I don't know. We'll see how they play out the beginning of the part of this season. But that's the kind of thing you can go over and check out on FanDuel. So, again, visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and kick off the NFL season. The Lions doing great. FanDuel predicted before the season that they were going to win with 10+, or they were going to finish with 10+ wins. They were going to win the division. It looks like both those things are going to happen. FanDuel might be the smartest people out there. So, again, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Visit there and kick off the NFL season. That's with FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Should the Detroit Pistons make a trade? I think so. I think they should consider making a trade. If not before the season starts, but if not before the season starts, then sometime early on into the season. And this is why. And with a daily podcast like I have, and I have to record covering the team, it is hard to not sound like you're overreacting to everything because you're constantly talking about everything every single day. So I know sometimes it comes across like, hey, you're overreacting to things. We're just talking about everything day to day, how things are looking that day, and then things can change the next day. So that's kind of how the vibe's going to be. But based off what we saw tonight in this game, from this starting lineup, what I saw in this starting lineup was there's a chance for the Pistons to actually achieve their goal of being a middle-of-the-pack defense with this lineup. And if Cade is who I think he is, and tonight I thought he struggled a little bit, and that was a 14-6-6 game on 50% shooting, 66% from deep. So take that for what you will. That was a struggling game, I thought, for Cade. I thought he was a little lazy defensively, and I thought there was multiple plays offensively when you look very clearly like he was knocking off some rust and a little lazy around the rim with some finishing attempts, but still ended up with an efficient night in just 22 minutes of action. So if Cade is who I think he is, and Asar Thompson is as good as he's looked in preseason, all that stuff, and this starting lineup is what Monty decides to go with, and they actually are good defensively like that, I can see this team, 1, being middle of the pack defensively, and 2, going over their 28 wins. And I could see them possibly fighting for the play-in. With this caveat, they make a trade for a 4. If they are serious about making a jump this season, if they are serious about wanting to fight for that play-in spot, if they are serious about that, they need to trade for a 4. I think that would unlock what I saw from this starting lineup in the minutes we saw tonight. I saw a lineup that was fantastic defensively, fantastic in transition, and in the half court, if they simply had a versatile 4 that was capable of hitting catch and shoot threes and attacking closeouts, and someone that had like respectable gravity, if they simply had that also again, two-way guy, that maintained defense too, that had defense along with them, if they could have a guy like that, the starting 4, I think I might completely change my tune on what this team could be because of what I saw in this game, what I saw from the starting lineup. If they are going for real, bring Jaden Ivey off the bench, which he ended up playing better in the second half. In the first half, he played, I thought, pretty poorly, but in the second half, he picked it up. If they're going to play Jaden Ivey off the bench and let him be like the 6-man scorer, and they want to play, Alec Burks or Monty Morris or Joe Harris with them, I think the bench lineup will be fine offensively. I think if they want to cut the rotation down to 9, they could. But if they want to play 10-man rotation, I think the backup line could be fine offensively, not very good defensively. If they cut it down to 9 and try to stagger guys, I think it could be a better balance. But either way, I think they have a fine offensive bench if they went with that starting lineup. The only thing they're missing is a starting 4 that can be versatile on both ends of the floor. And if they had that, I think it opens up everything for the starting lineup. It opens up everything for Cade. And now all of a sudden, I think this team could be actually pretty good. I seriously believe that's the one thing. And you guys remember, back in free agency, this is how I felt. After the draft, this is how I felt. When they weren't making trades for a 4 and the 4s were getting signed elsewhere, this is how I felt. If they could have just gotten one of those 4s that were available, I felt like then they actually could have made a jump, but they didn't do so. And that's really weighed down what I think this team could do this year. Now, again, it is just 3 games, so maybe the season starts and all of a sudden Isaiah Stewart turns into Kristaps, or he turns into Jeremy Grant, or maybe that happens when the regular season starts, okay? But we have 3 years of evidence, and so far through preseason, the exact thing that we were worried about looking like in the half-court offense is what's happened. Is Stu isn't hitting his threes, and even in the game where he did hit 2 threes, they don't respect him enough offensively, and he doesn't bring enough versatility offensively. The Pistons, again, they run a lot of DHOs with Duren, and when they run into a DHO with Stu doesn't have that kind of versatility to run a DHO. It gets clunky. It looks weird. If they have a 4 that can run off that DHO and try and make a play, that can attack off the catch and shoot, that can attack the rim, and maybe has some minor playmaking to him, doesn't have to be crazy, but maybe some minor stuff, and then maintains the defensive level, if they had that, that is the one thing stopping this team, I feel like, from really taking that next step. Because they have some veterans, they do. This lineup that they started, that's actually a really good defense. The only thing stopping it, I feel like, is that 4. So what I think they should do, if I was the GM of the team, if I was Troy Weaver, what I would consider doing, I'm considering packaging a combination of Bojan, Alec Burks, Monty Morris, and seconds to go try and get a 4. It's long-term, we've talked about it many, many times on the podcast, but with their salary cap sheet long-term, they can take on a longer-term contract. They can take on a big contract. They'll be fine. They have really good flexibility with that, so that's not a concern with them. A guy on a bigger contract, that's not a concern for the Pistons. If I was Troy Weaver, that's what I'm doing. I'm making calls before the season starts. I'm making calls after the season starts, and I'm trying to make a trade for a starting 4 that is versatile on both ends of the floor, because I believe the team then could actually be what a lot of fans think they could be, what we heard all offseason they believe they could be. That's why I think it's the missing piece. That's the missing key. If they can have that, I think that may unlock that could unlock everything for this team. It really could. The offense would have looked so much better with that. And again, This comes off as like Stu hate. It's not Stu hate. It's not even about Stu for real. I feel like the Pistons are putting Stu in a position that he just can't win. It's more so about the Pistons than it is about Stu himself. Stu's being asked to do things he just can't do. Stu is being asked to do things he shouldn't be being asked to do. They need to go get a 4 that can actually do the things that they want the 4 to do. And if they do that, this team could be good. And when I say good, I mean fight for the play-in. And maybe make the play-in. Like that kind of thing. Again, it may come off as an overreaction, but I feel like this is actually something I've talked about going all the way back to the preseason or off-season when I talked about going after Kristaps potentially, a Grant Williams, if they were interested in a Jeremy Grant. Like, I feel like I've talked about that for months now, and in this game, with that starting lineup, it just popped off the screen. And I see a lot of people talking about it in the Pistons community, so I feel like it's becoming more and more evident, not just to me, but to a lot of people. So let me know what you guys think. Should the Pistons be trying to make a trade for some starting 4 across the league? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, we'll talk about why making that trade for the starting 4 will be actually good for Isaiah Stewart and even better for Stu and the Pistons relationship moving forward. Why it makes sense for all parties. We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I've got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, Jase Medical. Everyone should feel confident to take care of themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jase handles everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. With Jase Medical's Jase case, you get 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All you have to do is fill out a simple online form and in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of their board-certified physicians. It's doctor created and doctor recommended. And now with Jase case, they are now offering customability for your Jase case with dozens of add-on medications. Choose the medications that best fit you and your family's unique situation and needs. Jase is continually working to expand their medication offerings. In those recent efforts, they added ivermectin as an option in the Jase case. Buy a gift card for the family too, or your loved ones, so they can get a case or a Jase case for themselves, of their own, and their own family. All that stuff for Jase Medical. Jase Medical is great. I want to read a review here from one of Jase Medical's customers, Frank. He says, quote, "I received our package the same day I got a sinus infection and my doctor was out of town. No appointments for days. Thank goodness it arrived." Again, in 2023 with pandemic, shortages, storms, you should be prepared for everything and anything this world has to throw at you. You go online, you fill out a simple form with Jase Medical, and then you get prescription life-saving medications right at your door. The Jase case gives you the peace of mind in case of any emergency. So go to jasemedical.com and enter code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON at JASCmedical.com. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So the Pistons game just officially ended. They did end up winning this game 118-116. None of the key guys played at the end of this game for real. So, again, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I tuned out and went to go record the podcast so I can get some sleep for the job. One of the disappointing things that has continued to happen in this game is the backup 5 minutes for the Pistons. The backup 5 minutes, they just have not looked good. Marvin Bagley in that first game played really well. In the second game, I thought he played okay, but not great. And then in this game, I thought he looked really bad. He didn't look good defensively at all. Wasn't active on the glass, and offensively. And part of this may be an effect of having to go against the OKC Thunder and their bigs and Chet Holmgren and stuff. But he was not playing well offensively, was not playing well defensively, was not playing well on the glass. And he had such a bad start that Monty Williams gave James Wiseman a chance to then come in and try and make up for that and try and gain some steam. And James Wiseman somehow looked worse. He played 11 minutes, took 0 shots, 2 points, on 2 free throws, had 1 rebound, and was a -11 in just 11 minutes. He played 11 minutes, so it was a -11. So, both of these guys, we talked about this before the year. Neither of these guys are great. Okay, they're not, both of them have issues. I think it's clear Bagley's better than Wiseman, but Bagley's not a game-changing player anyways either. The Pistons don't have a great backup 5 situation. They have a tough one, and that's why it's a battle between Bagley and Wiseman instead of one of them just being given it, because it is a tough situation. They don't have great options right now. So it's tough to see it because I'm not going to go in on Wiseman because I know there's Wiseman fans that listen to this, and I don't need to pile on Wiseman, but he just looked really bad tonight. He continues to not look really good, and tonight, not only did he not look good, it looked like he didn't play with a lot of effort, and didn't look like he really wanted to be out there as much. At least that's what it looked like to me. Maybe that's more of, I don't want to start throwing stuff out there, but maybe it's because he wasn't happy about not, I don't know. He didn't look good at all. Bagley also struggled. And both of those guys are not fantastic options for the Pistons. You want to know an easy way they can solve this? And actually, it's something that I and some others in the Pistons community have been saying for a while. Isaiah Stewart is not a 4. His best skill is a big man that can switch out on guards as a 5. He is a small ball 5. He is a center that has hopefully the capability one day to stretch out the floor somewhat, to space the floor out and some pick and pops somewhat. That's the hope with him. But I've maintained that Stu, at the end of the day, is going to be, I think he's going to be a backup player. I think he's a 5. I don't think he's a 4. He's a 5. So if the Pistons, let's say, if the Pistons want to start Bojan, you simply move Stu to the bench, make him your backup 5, and now you've solved that issue. Instead of having to pick between bad and more bad at the backup 5, just move Bojan to the starting 4, put Stu at the backup 5, and now you have everything solved. You have everything solved there. You don't have to play Wiseman or Bagley. You keep Stu's defense and actually are able to utilize his best skill set, which is as a 5 that can switch out on guards. Then you're utilizing that, and you play a bench lineup with like Jaden Ivey, Alec Burks, Joe Harris, Isaiah Stewart, and Sasser, I guess. Or whoever wins the 2 and 3 minutes. I know there's a battle. We don't know who's going to be the 2 and 3 off the bench. There's a bunch of battling going on, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you run Ivy with Stu, with Harris, and then, whether it's Monty, Burks, Sasser, or whoever it is, whoever ends up winning those minutes, that's the lineup you run with, and that makes a lot more sense. You're not asking Stu to do things he can't do. You're not asking Stu to do things that make him, a target for the fan base. You're not hurting the offense and the half-court offense by forcing him out there in a position he's not good at, and you're not stuck playing two guys who just aren't playing well as the backup 5 and haven't played well for the most part of their careers. That's just the realism of it. Stu's better as a 5. He's better switching out on guards. Just move Stu to the 5 as the backup 5 off the bench. Promote Bojan to the starting 4. You have your spacing. You solve the backup 5 position. Stu now I think plays a better role for the team and can play better. Bada boom, bada bing. I think it's that simple. Or, even better, trade Bojan, Burks, a combination of those, with some seconds, and go get a starting 4, get that impactful 4 that can play 2 ways, and then play Stu at the backup 5. That works even better. I think the team would be even better if they did that. I think that's just a simple solution. I feel like that could really change the Pistons' fortunes this year, and now all of a sudden I think they could be a playing team. Like, that changes everything. It's just I feel like the solution is right there on their bench, or on their roster, and they're just like glossing over it, I think. I hope Monty sees it, but I think it's just right there. It's just staring us in the face. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. That's all I've got for you guys today, though. Let me know in the comment section down below and over on Twitter again how you guys felt about this starting lineup and everything we've talked about in today's podcast. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for making Locked On Pistons first listen every single day. 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. And until next time, enjoy this next Pistons game that's going to be on Friday night. Last game of the preseason before the regular season. Till then, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.